Good day, everyone. I am Maria Boyd, the business analyst for Group 1. Today, we will be discussing one aspect of mitigating and avoiding becoming victims of crime. We are members of the public who wish to minimize our exposure to crime and, therefore, the loss and trauma it incurs. Our problem statement is, therefore, can members of the public use data readily available from the Government of Canada and their metropolitan police forces to navigate hotspots in their cities and reduce their exposure to crime. The background is thus, crime has been increasing in Canada for 5 years over the period 2013 to 2019. To evaluate our proposal, we will focus on 3 property crimes: robbery, auto theft, and breaking and entering, and 2 cities, Edmonton and Toronto. Before we proceed, let us explain how crime statistics are measured in Canada. There are 2 measures: the Crime Severity Index, which takes into account the volume of crime committed and its severity, and the Traditional Crime Calculation, which sums all criminal code violations, excluding traffic offenses, and normalizes by dividing per 100 population head.
Hello everyone, I'm Alice Wen. I'm the data analyst of the team. Today I will focus on exploratory data analysis on Python. Here you can see this is the Toronto crime data in general. I import the data packages and the CSV file. I take a look at the first rows. I notice that the index here, as well as the event unit ID, is not relevant to us, so I drop some unnecessary columns. And I also check missing types and data types and the missing values. I noticed that we have over 200,000 entries, but some columns have less, which means they are missing values. I found the rows with the long volumes. Most of them happened in the past a long time ago, so I decided to drop the data. Later I dropped the long value, and I decided to map the major types of crime in Toronto. I use this plot. You can see after assault, break and enter, auto theft, and robberies are 3 major types of crime. I also want to plot years trend in Toronto, and you can see there's an increase of incidents of crime. And I try to figure out the most dangerous areas in Toronto. I found that the most dangerous one is waterfront communities. The most dangerous month in Toronto is October, followed by July. The most dangerous day is Friday, followed by Saturday. And the most dangerous hour is 12 a.m., followed by 12 p.m. Then I dive deeper into Toronto auto theft data. Here's my package CSV file. I also look at the first rows. I drop unnecessary columns. I check data types and missing values. As well, I drop the rows with long values. And the next thing I did is to transform the date column. Here's the current state, which is not useful for analysis. So I split the column, and I try to I drop unnecessary columns, and I convert the date into the date time format using the year, month, date format. You can see it's at the end here. I make it as an index because it's useful when working with time series data. And then I think it's here. I just want to calculate which days have the highest and the lowest average number of auto theft. I create 2 pivot table. One is focused on the month and the day. The other is counts the day of years that each day calculate the average number of auto theft on each day. And then I use this seaborne heat map to show the worst day and the the best day. You can see the worst days are December 17th and March 8th. And most of the occurrences of vehicle thefts happen in October and November. November seems to be the worst month. And I'll also try to figure out, do auto theft happen in the same hour for each day of the week? I use another pivot table. And here's like most of vehicle thefts happened at 10 p.m. on Fridays. And many vehicle thefts happened at night between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m. I use the Toronto break and enter data. I just want to briefly show you the code here. The code data, and here's the heat map, October 4th and November 22nd in terms of break enter, and November and October are the months seeing the most occurrences of break enter. The bad day looks like break enter happened a lot at night, around 12 a.m. and then the dangerous hour is 12 p.m. at noon. Here's the robbery data, if I can open it. Yeah, and I just want to show you the heat map at the end. In terms of robbery, the worst day is November 31st, and the worst day is an outlier. On average, there are not many robberies happen on each day over the past 5 years. In terms of hour and the day of the week, I found that a lot of robberies happen on Monday from late afternoon to night, especially 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. And then the dangerous period is Wednesday night between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. In order to compare Toronto data to Edmonton data, I kind of use the Edmonton open source data here. I do a high-level comparison. So you can see I plot the types of crime in Edmonton over the past 5 years. You can see the highest incidences of crime is the theft from vehicle, followed by assault, and then is the break enter, and the fourth one is theft of vehicle. Also, I found the most dangerous area in Edmonton is a downtown area. Also, Oliver is second most dangerous area for crime. Most dangerous months in Edmonton is July, followed by August. Last but not least, I did some data cleaning for the federal data, but this is mostly basic cleaning because I needed to pass the data to our data visualization specialist for Tableau visualization. So that's everything from me. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Robert Winarski, and I'm doing the visualization for Group 1, which is a continuance of crime and avoidance for the informed victim. So we have 2 different data sets that we're going to be looking at today, one from Edmonton, Alberta, and one from Toronto, Ontario. And we're going to be looking at 3 crimes: auto theft, break and enter, and robberies. And we're looking at the years 2014 to 2019. So for the Toronto data set, we have 4 different displays: a map, on the top right is the 10 top communities with the highest incidents. On the bottom left is a heat map showing the number of incidents by hour and day, and then the location of the incident. So for auto theft we can see the colored dots is showing all the communities where the incidents have occurred, and the highest one is at West Hubbard, Clairville, and it is actually quite high. The interesting thing is the incidents in time that have occurred on average is occurring between about 6 o'clock in the morning to about 9 o'clock. Monday to Friday, so you can see that they're congregated in there, and in the early mornings there isn't a lot of incidents happening, and then it tapers off through the day. And they're mainly happening, the auto thefts outside, followed by residential, commercial, other, and apartment. For break-in enters is again, the distribution is most of the high areas for break and enter are in the downtown area, followed by the outside. And the communities are distributed mainly in the downtown area with some on the outskirts. If we click here, we're getting on the far outer areas of Toronto. And the interesting thing is break and enters are happening again at about 8 o'clock in the morning on average till about 4 to 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night, Monday to Friday, because you can see in this area that there's a lot more incidents in the other areas. And in the early mornings, there's fairly few incidents happening. And the distribution is fairly consistent, residential to commercial to apartment. And then for robberies in Toronto, again, it's happening more in the downtown area, the top 10, followed by areas in the outskirts. The occurrences throughout the day we've mapped them to where it's happening more in the evening. Monday to Friday, you can see this area is higher incidence, so it's like from about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night till later in the evening, Monday to Friday. And then in this area right here, which is on the weekend, early morning, midnight to about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And the main offenses for robbery are muggings, other, and with a weapon, so it's dangerous for the victim. And here's just, I wrote down the comments that I've kind of talked about, but mainly the trends for auto theft in Toronto are going on the increase. The break and enters was going into a bit of a lull in 2016, but it's on the increase, and then robberies have been fairly consistent. For Edmonton is we don't have I didn't have the lat longs to make a map, and we don't have the time values by hour, day, so we're limited, but we can still look at trends, and we can see that especially for robbery for Edmonton and the years are 2014 to 19, the trend is going up, and it's starting to go down then just the last year to 2019. The communities, all these 10 communities, downtown's the highest, they're all in the central part of Edmonton. And they're all consistent with robbery, break and enter, and auto theft. And you can see that theft from a vehicle is the highest, followed by break and enter, and then theft of vehicle. So for break and enter is, again, the trend is going up from 2014 to 2018, and then just the last year of data that we had, it's starting to drop. Communities are the same, downtown's the highest. Break and enters, if we pick a community, we can see that the break and enters are quite high, but theft from vehicle is the highest. So lock your doors when you're in the central part of Edmonton. And then for finally, the auto theft for Edmonton is over those 6 years is, again, it was on the increase. It flattened out, and then it started to drop towards 2019. Downtown is again the highest, and for auto theft is again just theft from the vehicle is the highest over those 6 years. And that's it.
For competitive analysis, we looked at Toronto versus Edmonton in 2 areas. comparison of the crime statistics we had in common, and availability of crime statistics. Looking at this graph, it shows crime severity index for 2019 for metropolitan cities. We see Toronto was the 6th best, whereas Edmonton was the 5th worst. This despite the fact property crimes in Toronto were increasing or almost flat between 2018 to 2019, whereas property crimes in Edmonton were decreasing over the same period. Given how CSI is calculated, it can be inferred that more severe crimes against a person are higher in Edmonton than Toronto. Furthermore, Toronto gave a far more detailed breakdown of its crime statistics on its website, and its data was more updated. Turning now to cost-benefit. The objective of this cost-benefit analysis is to review the following: the cost of crime inflicted at an individual level, the cost, monetary, and time associated with accessing public domain data, and the benefits derived from using data to assess personal risk and taking preemptive and mitigating action to avoid crime. A global review done in 2015 by a Canadian researcher and another by the U.S. Government Accountability Office concluded the following: there is no commonly used approach to estimate costs, and experts have identified limitations with primary approaches. Most studies are not comprehensive, and Canadian studies are urgently needed. The authors of 2 Canadian studies 7 years apart found the following: whereas in 1998, the victim cost was $50.5 billion compared to $42.4 billion total spent on crime. By 2014, victims' cost was $47 billion compared to $85 billion spent on crime. The total cost of crime in Canada being over 5% of our GDP, and estimates continue to be underestimated. There are 4 common methodologies to measure the cost of crime, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. They are the economic effect on markets, jury awards to estimate victimization costs, survey estimates of what the public is willing to pay to reduce crime, and calculating categories of costs separately to develop a total cost. A further review of the overall cost of crime shows the burdens on the public and the individual, which are both tangible and intangible. The intangible often a neglected cost. A 2014 meta-study by a Canadian author of crime costs globally demonstrated that for robbery, the total cost to the victim can be up to 97% of the total cost of the crime. For auto theft, up to 86%. And for breaking and entering, up to 47%. By comparison, use of public data sets has no monetary charge and takes less than 20 minutes of time to assess risk. All of this info for free. In conclusion, Canada, via its open data policy, supplies ample information for the public to educate itself about crime and take action to hopefully avoid entirely or mitigate its effects. Based on comparison of CSI, that is Crime Severity Index data, and other statistics, though property crimes are higher in Toronto than Edmonton, the former appears to be a safer city overall and provides much better data for the benefit of its citizenry. The end.